You already know this feeling. It's Sunday night and you are building the perfect week. Color-coded blocks, every task in its slot. It's beautiful, it's organized, and it is completely doomed. By Monday, 9:47 a.m., the whole thing is quietly on fire. One meeting ran long, one email pulled you sideways, and now your plan is basically a museum piece. So here's the question nobody actually answers. Why does planning your time almost never survive a real day? And it's not because you're lazy. Well, not only because you're lazy, it's that your tools are lying to you. Start with the most trusted tool of all, the to-do list, the thing you've used your entire life. Here's its problem. A to-do list tells you what to do. It never tells you when or for how long. It's a wish list wearing the costume of a plan. And it has no capacity limit. You can happily write 40 things on a list. You cannot fit 40 things into a Tuesday. The list doesn't know that. A day does. Second problem, and this one is math, not willpower. You are terrible at estimating time. Everyone is. Psychologists call it the planning fallacy. Whatever you think a task takes, reality quietly says 1.5 times more. So that tidy plan was broken before you even woke up. The numbers never added up. Third problem, you schedule yourself like a robot. Back to back to back, no gaps anywhere. But real days have friction, interruptions, bathroom breaks, your brain needing 10 minutes just to change gears. So one thing runs over, and the whole chain collapses like dominoes. Because you built it with zero slack. Fourth, and this is the big one, most people don't run their day, their inbox runs it. You start with your own intentions. Then at 9:01, someone else's emergency lands in your inbox, and you spend the next 8 hours being wonderfully productive on other people's priorities. Fifth problem, the invisible one. Jumping between tasks is not free. Every time you switch from one thing to another, it costs you close to 23 minutes to fully refocus. Researchers actually clocked it. So a day of proud multitasking is really just a day of paying that tax, over and over. And the sixth problem is the cruelest, because it feels exactly like a solution. The system fails, so you blame yourself. And then you go hunting for a shiny new app. You've done this. New planner, new method, new color scheme. A fresh start every 3 weeks. But the app was never the problem. Productivity app hopping is just procrastination in a lab coat. Now notice what all 6 of those actually have in common. None of them are about being lazy. They're about using a tool that ignores how a day really works. A to-do list treats your time like it's infinite. It isn't. A day is a container with a hard edge. There's also a quieter problem sitting under all 6. You keep waiting to feel motivated. But motivation is a mood. It shows up whenever it feels like it, usually right after the work is already done. A system's whole job is to make that mood optional. You don't rise to your goals, you fall to your structure, and your brain quietly makes it worse. Every unfinished task keeps nagging at you in the background. Psychologists call it the Zeigarnik effect. Open loops don't sit quietly. They keep tapping your shoulder. A to-do list is just a pile of those open loops, all pinging you at once. No wonder you can't focus. Giving a task a time slot is what actually closes the loop. Your brain trusts it's handled and finally lets go. There's a second hidden tax. Every "what should I do now" is a tiny decision, and decisions drain you. Blocking makes those decisions once, the night before. Then the day just runs on rails and you follow it. Let me show you all of this in one ordinary Tuesday. You block 9 to 10 for the big project. Simple. At 9:05, a colleague just needs 2 minutes. It is never 2 minutes. It's 20. At 9:30, you remember an email you have to send. You send it. Then 3 fresh ones appear. At 9:50, you finally open the project, read exactly 1 line, and it's already time for a meeting. The block wasn't wrong. The day just walks straight through it like a screen door. So let's fix the actual problem, not with more discipline, with a better container. The method is time blocking, and most of what you've heard about it is either too vague or too intense. Here's the honest version. You take every task and give it a specific slot on your calendar. Not write the report floating on a list. Write the report 9 to 10:30. Now it has a home and a size. This isn't just a neat trick either. Psychologists have a name for exactly this move, an implementation intention. Deciding in advance precisely when and where something happens. It's been tested in something like 90 separate studies, and the pattern barely ever breaks. A vague intention gets quietly ignored. A specific one, tied to a time and a place, actually gets done. And here's the magic, which is also a little uncomfortable. Blocking forces you to face your real capacity. When you try to place everything, you physically run out of room. That isn't the system failing, that's it working. It's the first time your 11 hours of plans meet your 6 actual hours. Rude, but useful. Now the mistakes. Because your first attempt will fail, and I would rather you know why. Mistake 1, blocking every single minute. A calendar with absolutely no white space. That doesn't shatter if reality touches it. It shatters when reality touches it. So leave 30 to 40% empty. I know that sounds insane, but that empty space isn't wasted. It's the entire secret. Mistake 2, no buffers. You jam the blocks shoulder to shoulder and then just pray. Leave 15 minutes between them. Things run over, you already know they will. So plan for it. Mistake 3, blocking based on hope instead of history. Use how long things actually took you last time. Not your optimistic, best day of your life fantasy version. And a bonus mistake almost everyone makes. You block by the clock, but you completely ignore your own energy. And this isn't just personal preference. Your alertness runs on a circadian rhythm. For most people, it peaks a few hours after waking, then drops hard right after lunch. That slump is biology, not laziness. You get maybe 2 hours a day where your brain is genuinely sharp, usually earlier than you'd like. Putting your hardest task in the 3 p.m. slump is like sprinting in wet sand. Match the task to the energy. Hard creative work goes in your peak window. Boring admin goes in the dip, not the other way around. Mistake 4, the one that kills the whole thing. You miss one block, so you rage quit the entire system. You will miss blocks. That's not failure, that's data. Move the block. Do not torch the day. Okay, so how do you start without building a monster you'll abandon by Thursday? Do not build the full grid, not yet. You start with 3 blocks, just 3. Block 1, deep work, morning, 90 minutes, your single hardest task, phone in another room. This is the one that actually moves your life forward. Protect it like it owes you money. Why the morning? Because willpower is a battery, and it does not recharge by lunch. Every decision quietly drains it. So you spend your fullest charge on the thing that matters most, first. Block 2, admin, all the small stuff, email, messages, little tasks, batched into one single window. You do not check email 12 times a day. You check it in this block. That's the deal. Block 3, your flex block. Deliberately empty. This is where the overflow goes when life happens. That's the entire starter system, 3 blocks. Master those before you even think about a full day. And when something runs over, and it will, you have 3 moves. Not panic. 3 moves. Shrink the next block. Push it into your flex block. Or cut it completely. You decide in about 10 seconds and you move on. The spiral is optional. You just have to skip it. Remember that Tuesday that fell apart? Let's run it again. Same day, but block this time. 9 to 10:30 is your deep block. The colleague still shows up at 9:05, but now you have a line. I'm in a focus block till 10:30. Can I find you at 11? 9 times out of 10, that's completely fine. The emails still pile up, but they wait in the admin block, where they belong, and you don't even flinch. Same day, same chaos. Completely different outcome. Nothing magic happened. You just had edges. Now the objection you're already forming. My job is reactive. I don't control my calendar. Fair. So block defense, not just offense. Put the reactive work itself into a block. 2 hours for whatever lands on you today. Now the chaos has a container instead of eating the whole day. Try the actual sentence next time someone interrupts you. I can look at this by 2. Does that work? You're not saying no. You're saying when. Most people are completely fine with that. You don't need to control your whole calendar. You need to protect one block. Just one. Back-to-back meetings all day? Then your one block is the 30 minutes before anyone else is awake. And if you tried blocking before and quit, I already know why. You built the 10-block monster. You didn't fail at time blocking. You failed at attempting the hardest possible version on day 1. One last thing that makes all of this actually stick. Plan tomorrow tonight, not tomorrow morning. It takes 5 minutes, and morning you is not a planner. Morning you is tired and wants coffee. So evening you does the thinking. 3 blocks for tomorrow, written down. Then you are allowed to stop. That last part matters more than it sounds. Closing the laptop tells your brain the workday is actually over. Without that, work follows you to the couch, to dinner, to bed. One line, laptop closed, done. Do just this for 1 week. Not perfectly, 3 blocks, some white space, and absolutely no rage quitting. And this isn't just a feeling. In a study that actually gave office workers protected calendar blocks, they worked fewer hours after 5 p.m., stayed more locked in during their focus time, and said flat out they felt more productive. By Friday, you'll notice something strange. You did less than your fantasy plan and more than a normal week. And that odd feeling? That's not guilt. That's your fantasy plan dying quietly, for good. You'll trust yourself a bit more too, because for once your plan actually matched a real day. So let's tie this together, because it's simpler than the productivity industry wants you to believe. The to-do list was never a plan. It was a pile of hopes with no room and no clock attached. Your day is not a list. It's a container with a fixed size. So respect the edges. Block 3 things, not 30. Leave white space on purpose. And treat every missed block as information, not a verdict. And here's the part nobody sells you, because it doesn't fit on a course thumbnail. No system turns you into a superhuman. Time blocking does not magically hand you more hours. It just stops you from lying to yourself about how much actually fits in a day. Your calendar is not going to be perfect. If you do this right, it's going to be honest. And those are very different things. Perfect falls apart by Tuesday. Honest shows up Tuesday, a little late, coffee in hand, and actually gets something done.